confirmed.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Hey everybody, Garnett Lee for this week's Question of the Week. It's from Cruel Legacy, and Cruel Dude, I know he did this to bait me out. He wants to know what it would take from a 3D game to get me to buy a 3D television. And I think you know the answer is I'm not sold on 3D right now, and here's why. You know, I actually was reading this review, where was it? Maybe Chris Perillo's review of 3DS, and he was talking about, and I want to pin this on Chris Perillo, so it was somebody's review. Basically he said that he was really dissing on the 3D in the 3DS. He said it looks like, like a lenticular card, which I sort of hinted at, but he was really hard on. He's like, it looks like a card out of a Cracker Jack box. And I guess the question for me to you would be, how do you determine when the screen gets big enough? When does the screen get big enough for it not to look like just a diorama box? Is it 19 inches? Is it 30 inches? Is it 50 inches? I mean, I guess the thing you have to think about is, in the movie theater, you had Avatar. And Avatar, a lot of people saw it on IMAX. And that is a wholly different experience than seeing it even on a regular screen. It's the way you're seated, it's the way the screen's positioned in front of you, it's the size of the screen, and it's very hard for us to duplicate that in the living room. So no matter what you're doing, you always feel like you're looking into a pane of glass that's looking into like a shadow box. And I think it's that shadow box effect that most throws me off from getting involved in the experience. There are some games that have done it very well. I think that it's been overlooked a lot. Black Ops has very good 3D implementation. It's very smooth, it's very subtle, and I mean, and by subtle I don't mean that it's like you don't notice it, I mean more that you don't get that really layered effect. I think that if you compare that side by side with like a Killzone 3, you'll see what I'm talking about, where it's a more naturalistic sort of 3D effect. But what would it take for a game to get me in? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think that you're getting already to a point where 3D has been so adopted by the manufacturers that in the next 5 years when you buy a television, you're going to buy a television that has 3D in it. What will you make of it? What will you do with it? Want to pie in the sky a little bit? How about what could happen with Kinect? Are we at the cusp of people standing in front of their televisions but feeling like they're projecting themselves into a 3D space? I don't know. And do you actually want to do that? I mean, then you're back to that whole standing around in front of the couch and jumping around thing. The answer to your question is, I don't know that a game with this technology could convince me to buy a TV, but I think that the manufacturer is going to make me buy one next time I want a TV. If you want to submit your questions, send them to us Facebook, Shack News, get them to us through Twitter. You know how to get a hold of us. We're Weekend Confirmed. I'm Garnett Lee, and we'll talk to you next week.